This is the shooter alongside Nikola Jokic. Obviously, as a prospect, he did have a lot more juice in his game, but injuries in his fit with Denver kind of pushed him into your typical spot-up or movement shooter role. So when he got moved to Brooklyn, many people, including me, thought he was going to be overtasked as the head of the offense. But through the first 19 games of the season, he's averaging a pretty efficient 25 points. And with him in the lineup, the Nets are currently on a 3-game winning streak, with him dropping 30 in each matchup. And the way Porter has been going about getting his buckets this season has been kind of different. Now, before we dive into what's really changed from this season, the first thing we still have to talk about is his outside shooting, because this is pretty much where his entire game stems from. As a perimeter scorer, Porter checks literally all the boxes. He has fluid mechanics, great lift, plus that tough shot-making gene. One thing you'll kind of notice about Porter's mechanics is that he does have this big dip before he releases. And this may be frowned upon by some shooting coaches, but I honestly don't mind it, because this brief dip also allows him to channel much more pop off the floor. And that elevation makes up that little pause that he has before he releases. Look how he's initially going to catch the ball at shoulder level, to then again bring it down to his waist. And even though Buzelis has more time to close the distance, he's still late to get a hand up in that shooting window. Pretty much the same concept here, but instead Porter's playing off the catch, with the ball on his outside head. And from here, it's another rise of 3 right into defensive space. Now, as an outside scorer, Porter is much more than just a standstill shooter. First, he has the footwork and balance to really effectively generate shots on the move, where he's comfortable blasting into looks from every possible angle. He can move laterally off a handoff or relocate on the perimeter, or move uphill and still set his feet for balanced shots. This is a unique play here, where Porter in the paint gets this handoff from below the arc. And from here, he has the control to organize his feet behind the line and rise up for a perfectly vertical jumper. Again, the balance and footwork on shots like these is elite. This shot here is also really interesting, where it looks like just a left-right step into a shot, but notice how he perfectly times this pass by pausing off that right foot. And that split second gives the ball more time to travel to him, which gives him better timing with this left-right motion. While getting into these movement shots, Porter can also use his dribble to create additional space by either running through the pass for rhythm one-dribble pull-ups or using the dribble to relocate into open space. The defense here cheats under this handoff, so it's just a one-dribble sidestep to his right. Again, whether he's shooting off the dribble or move, he just has a way for making really tough shots. This is a bonkers jumper here in isolation, where Porter first crosses the ball to his right, then brings that left foot forward to separate for a step back. And with his feet and hips pointing towards the right corner here, look how he's going to rotate his body back across and get himself angled to the rim. Now, that ability to take and make tough shots can be a double-edged sword. On one end, the guy finds a way to put the ball through the hoop while being off balance and heavily contested. But then on the other end, he often forces up just really bad shots, where he's contested, double-teamed, or it's early in the shot clock. And this kind of is the back-and-forth battle that MPJ has had throughout his entire career. Again, the guy is a really good tough shot. At the same time, he also takes bad shots that don't go in. Over his last 3 seasons, Porter has shot under 40% from 3. And I think that's entirely because of his shot selection. But with a gunslinger like MPJ, shots like this do come with the territory.
Now, every Sunday, my friends turn into analysts and experts. Boston has taken this. I can feel it in my bones.
Bro, last week you felt gas, and we lost by 20.
At the barbershop, it's even worse.
Chicago's defense this week? You don't want to know.
Please don't say that while holding scissors. I keep guessing, even at the office.
Bro, Seattle is going to shock everyone this week.
You said that last week. My wallet still hasn't recovered.
Unlike them, I don't panic about predictions.
This year, MPJ has looked a lot more aggressive off the dribble, and we did see this in spots with Denver, but they're up. In 2 years, the Detroit Pistons went from being one of the worst teams in basketball to currently being the top team in the East. Obviously, with this team, Cade Cunningham ascending into a superstar, Jalen Duren turning into a double-double machine, and the front office packing this squad out with more shooting and ball handling has all played a big factor to the Pistons' success. But despite their offense blowing up, I would actually argue that Detroit's defense has played an even bigger factor. where right now they have the third best defensive rating in the NBA. And when looking at what exactly makes the Pistons defense go, everything starts and ends with Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland, who are currently some of the most impactful and talented defensive wings in the league right now. To start things off, we'll dive into Ausar. From a build and ability standpoint, he's easily one of the most talented perimeter defenders in the league. First, at 6'7", he's an absolute blur on the ball, having this unique ability to dart laterally and beat the offensive spots. And the angles he takes are sometimes very
that nigga dart skills is insane.
Off the slow screen here, Jalen Johnson.
Both of them niggas fast as shit.
But when he stands open up like this, Ausar gets his chest back in front of the ball, and he has the stability to absorb that contact, giving the Pistons more time to rotate down. And like you just saw, along with Thompson being able to keep his speed and keep himself squared up with the ball, he also has really good core strength and balance. If the offense goes to snap the Grace to play space, he can keep his feet underneath him and shoot back out the test. Kevin Porter here is attacking hard with his left. And again, with Thompson's hips opening up like this, he should be able to create space by catching the ball behind. The Thompson again keeps his base and stays right in his airspace. And again, if the offense tries to attack his body where we are, he has the strength to not give up in angles. Along with Ausar being able to beat the opposite spots and keep his hips squared with the ball, he also has wicked fast hands. And he's elite at finding these windows to throw the ball through. When defending against a live dribble, he has the feel to reach across and time the ball on the way up. And in general, if the offense exposes the ball in front of his frame for a split second, he's always ready to clamp down. On this closeout here, he's again able to scramble and beat Johnson to the spot. And again, he has the strength to hold his ground. And once Johnson brings the ball across his frame, that's automatic cookies. And because Ausar can both pressure and contain the ball, he can sometimes force turnovers without really stopping his steals. On this play here, he just pressures and keeps Johnson in front, and he ends up dribbling the ball off his own foot. So from Ausar's ability to pressure, contain, and force turnovers on the ball, he's easily one of the most impactful point-of-attack defenders in the game right now. And the thing is, we haven't even gone over the best part of his on-ball defense. And that's going to be his ability to navigate screens. Because of that elite mobility and balance, Ausar has this freakish way of teleporting through screens. And he does it primarily by pressing up and wedging himself between the ball and the pit. He's picking the ball here at half court. And as his pick is set,
he really likes on defense. He's like low-key better.
And that's going to be his ability to navigate screens. Because of that elite mobility and balance, Ausar has this freakish way of teleporting through screens. And he does it primarily by pressing up and wedging himself between the ball and the pit. He's picking the ball here at half court. And as his pick gets set, about 99% of defenders would just take the easy route and go under. But Ausar, instead of pressing up and getting over at half court, is kind of nuts. Now, that ability to blow up actions at the point of attack might be the most important thing that any perimeter defender can do, because that both eliminates breakdowns and allows your defense to also dictate matchups. And this typically forces the opposing team into standstill offense. And then it's also important to note that Thompson also has a major impact off the ball. He's very honed in on rotations from the weak side, and him being a next-level athlete still allows him to make plays even while being out of position. He initially gets beat here on his closeout, and even while being a couple of steps behind the ball, he can still time this pickup and swap his spin. This play here really doesn't make sense. But on this turnover, he's about 20 feet behind the ball. But watch him turn off the jets and jump between his bounce pass. Besides his brother, there is nobody else in the league who can make this kind of play. So again, as a perimeter defender, Ausar Thompson checks all the boxes. He's a magnet on the ball, he's elite at blowing up screening actions, and his next level physical tools makes him just as impactful away from the basketball. Now, what's really scary about this Detroit team is that they also bring another guy off the bench who can pretty much play the exact same role, and that's Ron Holland. First,
I recently purchased the most popular glucose meter online and decided to test it with you. If you have diabetes or no...
Like Ausar, he's elite at containing the ball in open space, where it all comes back to keeping those hips in front, to then stay on balance for all these bumps and step backs. Look how far he's out of position on the screen, but he still finds a way to get himself back in front and then eat that contact. And Ron's another guy who's also really good at darting and covering ground in tight spaces, which again takes away angles and makes life really difficult for the offense. Andrew Wiggins here initially gets him leading with his right to left crossover. And while being shifted out of his frame here, look how Holland is going to leap across the wall off his drive. Now, the one difference that Holland has is that he's a little more willing to put his body in front and take charges. While Asar will normally play vertical or hunt for steals, Ron will sacrifice his body to draw offensive fouls. And him always containing and keeping his man in front does commonly funnel the offense right into contact. Now, Ron also has the hand speed to force plenty of turnovers. I wouldn't say he's quite on the level of an Asar, but he's for sure another guy that you can't play around with. The timing on this play is elite. Hero throws that outside shoulder into his chest, but Holland still comes across and finds the ball on the way up. At the point of attack, Holland's also very good at navigating and blowing up screening actions. Like Asar, he's got the physicality to press up and get himself between the ball and screen. But Ron at times will also use his speed to dart under and head off the ball. And in general, no matter what route he takes, he's very good at keeping himself attached to his man, which generally makes the offense uncomfortable, forcing bad shots or turnovers. Look who's going to press up here and take away the angle off the screen. And Jeremy Grant from here clearly looks flustered, and he just drives right into 3 defenders. Holland also has a major impact off the ball. That hand speed and positional defense makes him really good at gap. Plus, he has good awareness of what the offense is doing and where the ball is going. On the weak side here, look how he's early to meet Kuzma rolling. And Ron beating him off the catch like this gives Kuz no time to react. Underneath the basket, Holland may not have the verticality to be an elite rim protector, but he can hold his own very well against a variety of matchups. Bobby Portis here is trying to seal him off underneath the basket, but watch him fight around and get a hand on his pass. So with Thompson and Holland, the Pistons have 2 elite wing defenders at their disposal. The both of them can pressure the ball and wreak havoc at the point of attack, blow up screening actions on or off the ball, while also having the instincts to be super impactful off the ball. That kind of defensive versatility and impact is going to be huge for Detroit for the rest of this season and in the playoffs, especially if they're matched up against teams like New York or a healthy Boston Celtics, who really thrive off their guard and wing creation. Now, when switching over and looking at Asar and Ron's play on offense, their games are pretty similar. First, the both of them being able to force turnovers naturally feeds into their play transition, and if they get ahead of steam in the open court, they're a hand.
Never ever sue the driver who crashed into you after a car accident. There's a better way to get compensated that's faster, easier.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to go down as one of the best scorers in NBA history. But jumping back to 2019, he was involved in a very lopsided trade to say the least, where the Clippers received Paul George from OKC, and in return, the Thunder got SGA, Danilo Gallinari, freaking 5 first-round picks, and 2 first-round pick swaps. Obviously, in hindsight, the haul of picks that OKC got was pretty ridiculous. But while all this movement was happening, Shai was kind of an afterthought. Sure, he was a talented rookie, but at the same time, I don't think anybody saw him turning into literally the best scorer in the NBA. So exactly how good was Shai in his rookie year? And how did he turn himself into an MVP caliber player? Now, when looking back at Shai's first season, he was very active.
He's not the best scorer in the
Played
NBA.
in all 82 games, started in 73, while averaging over 26 minutes per night. The scoring volume and efficiency wasn't that
I'm be honest.
yet,
Luka is
but
the
it
greatest
does say a
scorer.
lot when he was getting consistent playing time on a night-to-night
Luka is
basis.
the greatest
and
scorer.
in the playoffs that year, he started and played in all 6 games against
nigga
Golden
scores
State. Now, despite
so
Shai getting
fast
some
and so
playing time
easy,
and
it's
having
insane.
trust from the coaching staff, I do think
nigga
this
have
version of his game had a
19
lot of
points
issues.
in the first quarter.
Shai's never been
in
super
5 minutes.
explosive above the rim.
It's a 12-minute quarter. 5 minutes, he got 19.
Now he just
assistant nigga.
really limited his effectiveness.
This nigga is diabolical, bro.
First, Shai had a really hard time absorbing contact.
You gotta understand, this nigga averaged 28.
It was easy for the defense to get
Like for his career,
and push him
not a game. His career. A lot of niggas don't even like sniff 28 for their career.
Really handicapped his scoring.
A lot of the greatest scorers, like the ones who scored a lot of points back in the day or whatever, or the high scores,
it was really tough. And at the same time,
like for certain seasons or some seasons, them niggas don't even average high numbers. They average like 24, 25 a game. This nigga right here averages 28 a game, bro.
In transition,
like for his career, bro.
And hit a right-left Euro. but he steps right into Steph and exposes the
And that's
ball.
going up.
Now, at the same time,
After this year, it's
there were
going
some
up.
positive signs
It's
in
going up,
Shay's
bro. He
game.
gonna average
The first
like
thing today
29,
that stood out
30
was
for his
how
career,
aggressive he
bro.
was.
He gonna be on
While
some
he
Jordan
was
shit.
looking in a playoff setting, he was in nonstop attack mode. The results weren't always super positive, but I think having that kind of mindset in a high-stress environment is a big deal. And from a skill standpoint, Shea always had really good patience in the lane. And in spots, this wasn't enough to make up for his lack of strength and lift. He was very good at finding finishing windows by playing off 2 feet, by either pulling the defense out of position by slinging the breaks, or kind of altering his speed and his legs. This move is slick. Where his first one which is pushed across towards the middle, and he's going to casually pick up the ball off 2 feet in the lane, to then sneak through this inside hand finish. And playing off 2 feet like this also allowed him to alter his playing path to the basket. He's attacking across the paint to his right here, but watching him again pick up on 2, and Floyd has comes back to his left. And Shea also had that same pace to his game off the bounce. This is a simple change of pace move. Off the screen, he's going to lift up his chest and turn his head. And when he feels an open space, he's going to drop back down into his drop. And again, while this version of Shea wasn't a top-tier athlete, he still had a really good way of covering ground. Well, this is a high pickup just one step below the 3. And from here, he can extend to the rim with 2 long strides. So as an off-the-dribble slasher in rookie year, I would say Shea was pretty good. For being just 20, he already had a good foundation of skill. But again, because of that lack of strength and explosiveness, it was hard to picture him developing into one of the better paint scorers across the league. Now, when jumping ahead just 2 years to his 2021 season for OKC, this is where we begin to see some legit improvement with his strength and control and length by both initiating contact more in the paint, plus seeking out that confrontation early into his drives. As he turns the floor off the screen to his right, Lopez will push the ball across his left, to then get into the defense's body right at the elbow, and he carves out this lane all the way to the basket. And with an additional 2 years of experience, Shea was also a lot more comfortable dealing with traffic in the paint. As opposed to gathering and forcing finishes, he was much better at either using the strides to find a good angle, using his feet to pull the ball over the defense, or kill the defense out of position with his acceleration. And at this point, Shea was already a really tough one-on-one matchup on the perimeter. The pace, ball control, and football was already elite. And if you left him out on an island heading mismatch, it was going to be a guaranteed blowout. Now, even with all these improvements, Shea still is 22, so a lot of those issues that we saw in the rookie year were still bleeding over into his 3rd season. Physical defenders can still have their way with him, and the reads and traffic still had to be sharpened up. Again, like we saw with LA, he was prone to quick gathers and rushing up finishes. Even if he initially created a good angle, he was reinforced with that pickup in good position. But when jumping ahead another 2 years, this is when I think Shea really became Shea. He was averaging over 21 points per game while making all NBA first. OKC may have gone bounced out in the play, but this was the year where Chet was hurt, and J-Dub was just a rookie. I think this year Shea was already a top 5 player in the NBA, but his team just hadn't caught up with him. Now, during the 2023 season, I think a strong case could be made that Shea was the best slasher in the NBA. He was averaging
Dirk Nowitzki, he's checked in for Booker. Jordan, he's checked in for Dallas. And on the screen now is the 2K leaderboard with the rundown of this postseason's assist leaders. 5th on the list, Jokic.
And it seems like he's taking it on his shoulders to get every one of his teammates involved in the offense here in the postseason. What a passing display.
The free throw drops for Duncan.
Yeah, the quiet intensity that Duncan brings, just incredible. He's a consistent force whose teammates really look up to.
Nowitzki for 3. It's rebounded by Dallas.
The game has been very close in a lot of areas, but rebounding has been the one differentiator thus far.
Abdul-Jabbar kicks to Nowitzki. Shoots the 3. Nowitzki sinks the high release 3.
Dirk is going to finish his career as one of the best scorers in the history of the game.
Jokic a screen. Bryant has the open look. Dallas no good that time either. Hornets leading by 3. Here's Nowitzki. Rebound by Kobe.
Oh, he missed the chippy. What are the odds? That's so frustrating.
And Jokic wide open. He shoots. Wide open shot is on the money. Jokic has got 8.
And he is brimming with confidence. Jokic just doesn't question his decision.
To the middle. Here's Abdul-Jabbar. And Kareem throws it down.
Face off
Going to the right energy.
That one up to some shaky defending.
Yeah, give him credit for taking advantage in a close game. Those are the types of plays that can swing things in your direction.
And a timeout called by Charles Lee. He made the decision to huddle up with his guys and talk about strategy.
Opponents along the way. They've got one of the best net ratings. They're still a top 5 defensively team number 3 right now. And they've got now a top 10 offense in the NBA. They're up to number 9 when I checked a little bit ago. So it seems like the Knicks are kind of figuring it out on both sides of the basketball. And a lot of that, goes to Mike Brown. Really excited about the way they've been playing under Mike Brown. The ball movement has been a lot better this season than we saw at times under Tom Thibodeau, because there were so many moments last season and in the subsequent playoff run where I'm looking at the Knicks and I'm like, there was so much talent on the court right now, offensively, with Brunson and Towns and Hill and OG, and yet the offense felt stagnant. It didn't feel productive enough. Felt like I was witnessing a product that was less than the sum of its parts. And now it feels like Mike Brown is getting the most out of a lot of guys, and there have been some growing pains. Guys' numbers aren't quite at what they were last season in a couple of cases, like Carl Anthony Towns, for example, although he's really starting to figure it out. But it's resulting in just better basketball. Got a better record right now than they did last season at this point, a better net rating, and at least you can get Nba2k. They're showcasing that in these high-stakes matchups.
Mitchell comes in for
a lot of that is Jalen Brunson, who is just one of the 10 best players in basketball, at 35, 3, and 4 with a block, 13, 19 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3. He was frying Jamal Shedo. He was a good defender. There's really just nothing he could do. He could not keep up with Jalen Brunson, and he had 20 alone in the first quarter when a lot of the other Knicks were unable to get shots.
1:30 left in the third
quarter. Because this is safe. Just roughly wrapped the defense out.
Now Curry.
But they can cause some issues. Let's be like, I'll just take
on
over.
The way, Giannis. Defended by Bryant.
Exactly the
Back to Antetokounmpo. Shot clock at 5. The Mavericks pull it in.
Oh, well, it's what we made for
Here's Pass to Jokic. And here's Bryant outside. Antetokounmpo pulls it in. Charlotte's gone 1-2 from beyond the arc since coming out of the break. A crossover. He takes it in. And the Mavericks up and in.
He's one of the guys that gives me the most
got 6 in the quarter.
Boy, he's been so efficient in this one. That helps your team in so many ways when you defend the basket.
Nice shot by Bryant.
Boy, that's his second 3, first of this half, though.
And here's Curry, who brings it up for Charlotte. Nowitzki left side.
That's where we see a lot of other guys.
Again,
the Hornets are playing a lot better this
For
season.
this offense, if they
Much
can
more
stay this
confident
high,
in their production on both sides of the ball. So I want to shout out to Gilbert because he got a lot of flack both in the regular season and
Mitchell with it.
down
Pass to
to
Kobe.
consistency. You're not going to win the guys.
Antetokounmpo pulls it in.
Forward, we look a billion
Giannis has got his 4th rebound in this
so
one.
far this season, he's been up 16.5 and over 50% shooting.
And
41%
here's
from
Curry.
3. That's up about 6 points from
Nowitzki
last
for
season.
3.
And he's averaging 2 steals as opposed to 3 last Take those advanced metrics, the eye test, everything tells me it's been a better defensive team.
Coaches talk about ending well. You cannot do it better than that.
And offensively, a great show for the fans through the first 3 quarters. It's been a fun game to watch.
Where he was being asked to be a bit
Hornets
more
lead
like a
by 5.
complimentary role player.
And we're coming right back. Be sure to stay with us as we get started for the fourth
Now
quarter.
the switch is finally flipped back over to, okay, they don't need me to go get buckets all the time. I've got to focus more energy defensively. He's gotten a bit more into a groove, and it's worked wonders. He is a big reason why the Knicks are a top 10 defense. I've really enjoyed the Mikal Bridges experience so far this season, and of course the same goes for OG Anunoby, who is going to be out there competing for an all
And
defense
now a
spot,
sneak
assuming
peek
he
into
has
the huddle
games,
with Coach.
because he did have a pretty sizable absence this season coming back. And he's winning himself season 16 man. I
Glad to hear you with us as we get going here in game 2. Average trailed by 5. Nowitzki is out there with Durant. Then there's Irving. Then there's Devin Booker. And it's Cunningham in at the 1 landing spot.
As
That's
long
the
as
line
those
for
guys
Charlotte.
are really comfortable.
Now here's Rose.
This is giving them like a little bit of creation, a little bit of
Here's
extra
Leonard.
options to do.
The Hornets pull it in. KD's got 5 rebounds tonight.
And as long as those
Now here's Irving.
we got one of the best recipes for winning. And so far, we've gotten it. Definitely gotten it who actually an offensive level player. Feels like the exact same
Booker
this year.
outside. It's going to be a 24-second shot clock violation. They turn it over.
Spots, it feels like, again, I think the Mike Brown system has done these guys wonders. And Carl Anthony Towns is someone who struggled with it a little bit. Like, so far this season, he's 35.3% from three. That's the lowest mark since the start of the season. 22.5 points per game. That's a kick down from last year, where it was up to 24. But a big part of that was the beginning of the season. Demonstrating how athletic trying to figure out, what is my role in the Mike Brown system? They're both remote, frustrated with table views. But it goes down a bit at this moment. TJ wasn't his best in 14 4 11 2 but he grabbed 16 rebounds. And it was still
to Booker and stolen by Jordan.
I like it 35 minutes to Hornets. It's literally
That's his first foul.
Last year, 37 minutes against the Nets, 34 against the Magic, and 8 minutes and a couple of threes. Like, it seems like he's kind of figuring me out a little bit more. It's looking more comfortable. It's not always going to get as true, maybe, as he was in the Thibodeau system.
Hit on the shot, and with that, the Charlotte lead is cut to just 1 point on the basket from Kawhi Leonard.
Again and again, they're dissecting the defense and creating those high percentage looks from inside.
Now, here's Cunningham. Nice move. And they call the foul, so a chance at the line for one more coming up. Guys, what do you think about the offensive approach we've seen so far for the Hornets?
I love what happened moving the basketball all game long. But also there's a out the ball. That style just makes it difficult to
It's been a point of emphasis for this group tonight. Their shooters are finding open spaces and firing without hesitation.
Here is Durant, following the score by Gas.
Always the size advantage, the great timing as well from Nowitzki.
Jordan on the wing.
So far this season, is only 29 minutes a night, so his workload is on and fun, shooting better from the field.
Here's the call on Devin Booker.
Josh Hart,
number 2. And some changes here for the Hornets. Comes in for
last
Kevin
year,
Durant. And Curry subbed in for Cunningham. Dallas also making some changes. Jokic is checked in for the ball. Kobe is subbed in for Derrick Rose.
Spacing the floor. That's his third triple of the game and his second in this half.
And timeout is called by Charles Lee. And clearly an important juncture. He's going to have some choice words with his team.
That's by far one of the best 5-minute units in the entire sport. Offensive rating of 131.7, the defensive rating of 96.1. They're scoring million points, they're picking everybody. They look phenomenal. Again, very small sample. 27 minutes isn't much whatsoever. And maybe it weren't more, maybe they eventually cut back a little bit. But I think those results are reflected in the play of the Knicks so far this season. That 5 years very pleased. And they're really playing extremely well together. They're playing for some of the better guys. Houston Bryant has been really good so far this season. 11.5 points, 44% from three, playing great defense. Been one of the best reserves in the sport. And sorry to have the anything they needed. And to Shannon's been with injury, but he's actually been really good. So
let's check in now with our Al
from three as one of the better bench shooters.
Over that last break, I got a chance to hear what Charles Lee said to the team. He tried to loosen the tension a little, asking his guys, are we having fun? I know I am. Just relax out there and follow the game plan. We've got this.
Ellie, thank you so much. Just 4 to shoot.
One of the better sales options.
Here's KD. Holy cow!
Efficiency so far in shooting. Maybe that'll come along, but I think he got the most same thing with Virgin Rock.
Could not
it just hasn't materialized. I should have just 30% from the field, 40% from the field. Devin Lucas might have put on some weight over the course of the offseason. He just looks a little bit slower. I don't know. He just hasn't been as effective as he was inferior last season. So if those two guys can kind of get a bit more of a figure out, they might be really got this team right now already with big baskets. Things are fresh tomorrow. I think they've been
inside from Kawhi.
Showing no hesitation in
even if just a disappointing
Kawhi
if you look at the stats, they should be a lot better than the results. So far, so maybe they get all the changes. But
we know I'm being popcorn to get that good. Coming for you to eat. It's called Oatmeal Pop.
The Knicks are definitely so far. I look at part of the team like a really decent offense, a championship contender, and I think he's winning a lot. I'm really excited about
what an option.
As the higher bonus slot, I think he's going to reach out to talent. Plus, you're sitting here to kind of get to know each other. Especially their defense. Their defense is defensively, you're looking for the point to stop that. I would say a lot more playoff sustainable. The defense was their unbeatable last year. It's clearly statistical by
this guy makes it look easy with all that talent.
Once it rolled out those defenders, I mean, if the rest of the squad's defending the way we are now, those guys are at least competing. The answer might be yes. So I'm really excited about that. Or maybe we can see them add a little bit more depth and go forward this season.
And that one
coming through when it
couple
matters
guys
most.
further
Kobe
down the list, but I just think a little bit more maybe. It's not good.
Curry looking around.
So, yeah, the Knicks right now feel like a legitimate shot to win this East, maybe even the favorites. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you can pass with the Knicks, you still want to see them more. No, they were favorites to win this East offense right now. Actually put out a tweet at home.
He's a bigger defender coming through in the biggest moment.
Well, he knows how much was riding on that possession to get the sense
So yeah, it's your favorite team. Okay, let's talk about the other name that we saw. It was Magic. Orlando just looked like the better team after the first call by Jason Kidd. Nothing something along those lines, and it's pretty much really good after that. Was the Orlando Magic even done with Bronx volume and the best player so far this season? Desmond Bain really scored this one. He's been heating up. If you were not a big fan of the trade, if you're like a team with so many picks. Games like this in the Big Ten kind of recent is exactly why. 37, 6, 5, 6 of 9 from 3, 58% from the field overall. Bain was up a deep. And if he was driving too fast, he was impressive.
Booker against Kobe.
Driving contact and finishing.
Inside of Bain, Bryant
shots
is
up.
just as
Slow in
much
the
trouble.
season. Bain's awesome. This is the exact player that I envisioned trading for him as his
Trying to take as much time off the clock as they can.
one option and yeah, Paolo didn't have a great shooting night. I think that's a good ball.
It takes incredible effort to stay connected to the hip of the offensive player. You've got to want to work.
The defense has no answer for him right now.
So they foul intentionally.
There's 18 from under the corner, 14 and 10, 2 3 from 6 8 from the field, a couple of defensive rebounds. Jalen Suggs.
Wade Ray, they're sharing the ball tonight. Mesmerizing.
Everyone's getting to touch it.
Yeah, Orlando's going to face off against the Knicks.
You can't let them hold the ball. Just move those last seconds away.
It's because of those Bonds was playing. I mean, they're a little bit differently. But now the Lakes can be a good physical. And as a recently defensive teams, the Magic more so than the Knicks, the Magic will just back to their driving defensive tendency. They're going to be hyper physical with the boost by the end of the night.
First one drops, and that puts them up by 5.
Struggling a little bit recently with this team offensively. It feels like they've kind of figured out a little bit. The mix up working defensively. They've not been most impressive either. It's not going well, but
critical trip on the line. He knocks him in and gives him a little cushion down the stretch.
They're trailing by 6. What do you think Coach's focus is going to be here?
Which is not really kind of what we saw beginning this season. Going to Miami Heat, it's going to look like that maybe the revolutionary at the beginning of the year, which was really fun to watch. You may not be the same.
17-foot shot away.
That is, I thought so far in the track it's small today. It's
First free throw is good, and that makes it a 7-point lead. And a tough break is his second attempt at the line. No good.
go. Yeah, excited to see the rest of the NBA couple of
And so it's Charlotte with the win. And this win puts them squarely in the driver's seat of this series. Up now Greg Tucson with all the momentum on their side.
I mean, in fantastic shape right now. If they can capitalize on this victory and win game 3, you can just about put this series to bed.
You got it.